Greetings, awesomes. Welcome back. Hope you're having a great week. Your week's off to a great start. Depending on when you're watching this, will be our third video. This one here, we're going to talk a little bit about some design principles, okay? And this is the purpose of this video more is to just kind of get you started in a mindset of thinking about, because I know every single time, I've taught this assignment for about the last 12 years. You guys will find a job ad, in a day or two, perhaps. Let's say those of you, or you already know, maybe you've already found your job ad, and the first thing you're going to start doing is you're going to start putting your resume together, or maybe you already have a resume. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about some of those things and get started talking about those now before you get too far down the road. Okay. So I want to draw your attention before we jump right into Kramer and Bernhardt itself. I wanted to direct your attention to, okay, I just, my fingers are going faster than my mouth anyway. So under this week here, we've got the Project 2 resources. And on here, I've got some sample resume, and I showed you, and I'll show you what these mean here in a minute. Of course, obviously Kramer and Bernhardt here, and I've already got the text I've already got pulled up. Let's blow it up a little bit here. And then we'll take a look at that briefly. We'll spend more time on the principles of Kramer and Bernhardt next week. And I'm going to shoot you guys some what I would call the key points, the things that are most important, the things that are most germane to really take out of that text as well later on in the week. But just kind of, so if we look at a sample resume with table borders, and we look at a sample resume, of course it's going to download, it's not going to want to open up. Okay, well, for that idea then, I'll fix that. I wonder if Kramer and Bernhardt does the same thing. Yeah, downloads instead of opens up. Okay, all right, I'll fix that. So apologize for that. So the first things we want to think about when we're looking at designing a text is to think about spacing, and the biggest thing, okay, as you're reading through this, okay, they're going to show you different examples, right, of text style. But the biggest thing, as you learn about using the page as a grid, right, you're going to read about how to use active white space versus passive white space. All right, we'll talk more about those next week. You're also going to learn about hierarchy, right, which fonts to use when, a font for a heading, a different type of font for the body, right, text that goes underneath that particular heading, and even other subheadings, and how you work towards those things, right, be bold, whether they be italicized, whether they have serif font or sans serif fonts, those type of things we want to be thinking about. But I think more important than anything when it comes to text design, the biggest piece of advice I can give you, especially in today's climate, is do not use a Microsoft Word template for your resume. All right. Start with the blank page. Okay. Learn how to put all those things in yourself. Put those things in yourself. So if you need to move something around, you are more in control of the document. Okay. Kramer and Bernhardt are going to talk about that. They're going to talk about setting it up as a grid using active white space. You use text structures so you can guide and lead your reader. But the biggest thing is towards the end of their the end of this article that we'll spend obviously a lot of time on, but I think it's actually one of the most important aspects is to control the document. Okay. And the only way that you're going to really be able to control the document is if you literally start with a blank page. Okay. Open up Google Doc, right? Blank. Open up a Microsoft Word document, right? Or whatever. All right. So all right. So here's one that I did, right? That I have linked for you. Apparently right now it's downloading instead of just opening up for you. I don't know why that is, and I'll look into that. So this, by using the tables, okay. And the reason I use this is because that's not how I send it, right? So this one's without borders. So this is me building it, right? Okay, I've got my name up here at the top. I got my contact information. I have my objective because I feel like for in my particular field or the one that I was writing, it needed an objective statement. Look at sample resumes in your field. Some might not need an objective statement. Maybe they need something else. Maybe they just need some sort of an overview, right? And maybe it's going to be a little bit more paragraphical. In my field, education is the first thing we're going to look at. Then skills, then work experience, and then references. All right, so I'm using tables, right? I'll put in a table, right, for education, and so don't tab, right, so that I can see the page as a grid, right? I can see how much white space is balanced, make sure I'm using as much of it as I possibly can, but not necessarily making it so difficult for it to be read, okay? Because that's the other thing, right? When you're putting something in on Indeed, right, or you do it on LinkedIn, or you do it on whichever platform, when you get to that point when you apply for a job, that file that you upload doesn't need to be so busy that it can't be read, right? They're going to run it through these automatic readers, right? So you'll transfer this into a PDF file. Well, right? So let's say that you're happy with this and you want to see what it looks like, right? So then I take all the borders out, right? It's the same resume, okay? These two are the exact same resume. This here the tables let me see the page as a grid, so I can see, okay, this is marketing coordinators centered, right? Each one of my job things is centered, it's consistent, so someone can look and see, okay, here's where they had experience, all right, here's the title, here's how long, here are the things, right? And we'll, of course, obviously talk about prepared, right, using active verbs, to demonstrate the things that you do, those kind of things. Anyway, well, I don't want to. The biggest thing right now is you're in control, right? I'm in control of this document, right? Even if I'm looking at this, and let's say I'm going through here and I'm like, oh, you know what? Now that I've taken everything out, let's say I don't like this, right? Let's say, yeah, I don't know if this is too much leftover white space or not enough, right? Then I can go back to here and I can say, okay, I'm going to convert this 2 columns into 3 columns, right? So I can maybe feel like I want to use some more of this space, or maybe it's right down in here. But this is fairly well balanced, I would say. Not that this is a template, right? This is one I just designed. One of the many that I've designed, that I've used in the past. And yours might not need to start off with education. Your might be work experience is the most important thing, right? Then it's something else. Always look at examples of the ones in your field, especially ones that are considered good, right? Do a little bit of research as you're researching the company. And if you're going into engineering, you're going into nursing, you're going into graphic design, or whatever it is that you're going into. Just literally Google those, whatever your particular field is, resumes, right? See if there's something. Look at 3 or 4. Look at 5 or 6. See if there's something consistent. Did they all have an objective followed by education with skills and work experience and then references, or is it something else? And we got to keep it to a page, right? So we want to maximize our space, but not be too busy. Okay. What's most important is that they can read it, they can follow it. It's easy on the eyes. And then I advise, always you use tables so that you can grid, you can move things around, you can space things that you want the way that you want to space them, right? This is 2 column with the 3 column thing on top, very consistent and very simple. So it can also be read by those. So control the document, right? And then as we get into more and more, so let's look at these 2 examples too here, right? So objective, notice that's in one font. Notice that this is in a different font. Education, same font as the heading, right? Notice that it's bold italicized, right? Not italicized. See, different font. Okay, this is a sans serif font, and these down here are, right, so sans serif, serif, sans serif, sans serif, serif. Okay, and we'll talk more about what those things mean, but that's part of hierarchy, right? Because everything now, so then doing those little things helps the person who's reading it follow along as well. Okay, so just begin to read this. You don't feel like you have to have it all read this week, but start to get that, as you're looking for your job ad and those type of things. make sure that when you think about it, if you think that you want to start looking at designing your resume, start with the blank page. All right, guys, if you have any questions about that, just let me know. Hope you all